Hello and welcome to another episode of Wise Attraction. It's an episode of our love story diaries, and what's been happening is really interesting because we found that love happens to people in different ways. For our first couple that we had on our love story diary session, the guy knew that he was going to marry her from the moment he saw her picture. Get this, guys, he saw her picture. He hadn't met her in person. He saw this lady's picture and he said, "This is my wife." For our second couple, they had known each other for a while. They kept seeing each other in church, but they really didn't think much of themselves. And suddenly one day they were both at an event and the guy just looked at her, and for some reason the scales fell off his eye and he decided to go for her. Of course, he prayed about it and all of that. Today we're having another exciting and inspiring love story that we want to share with you. So do stay tuned for this inspiring story. You definitely will not regret it. I'm Dr. Bibi Babs, and I'm your host and founder of Wise Attraction, which is a resource hub for building strong relationships. You are in the right place if you want to have a lasting relationship that you enjoy. Hit the red button to subscribe now to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Wise Attraction, so you're the first to know when we have new content available. And for those who subscribe to the Wise Attraction YouTube channel today and also comment on this video, you will stand a chance of winning a date night box from Wise Attraction, which might be just that added boost to your Valentine's celebration. I just got a photo of the spa date night box from Wise Attraction here, which you can win. So to win this box, please like this video, comment, and also subscribe to the Wise Attraction YouTube channel. As usual, I like the show to be really interactive. So if you're watching, please say hello in the comment section. Feel free to ask your questions and put your comments over there, your thoughts about the conversation, and I'll be displaying these and sharing your comments as the show goes along. So I'm going to welcome our guests now, Dami and Sandra. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
It's good to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Okay. So before we go into the questions of the day about your love story, can you please tell me a bit about yourself, Dami? Let Dami go first and then Sandra.
Yeah, sure. My name is Dami, obviously. A bit about myself. I'm a graphic designer.
Okay.
I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. I am married, obviously. I love football. My favorite team is Arsenal. I like to read. I'm trying to get into fitness again. But yeah, that's just a little snapshot of who I am.
Thanks, Dami. Sandra, what about you?
So my name is Sandra Odikoya. I'm married to this guy. He's lovely. I work as a management consultant in financial services, and I like to write stories.
Okay. Oh, that's nice. Actually, Sandra has lots of nice stories. I remember we did the nativity story which you wrote.
Yeah, that's
Oh yeah, you were married.
Yeah. You guys are beautiful, by
I
the way.
remember. Yeah.
Thank you. So going straight to the questions about your love story. Sandra, would you like to go first? Tell us what you were doing around the season when you met Dami.
Okay, so I guess it's good to kind of provide a little bit of background. Dami and I actually went to the same secondary school.
Okay.
So I'd known him for a long time, like since year 9, when he joined our school. So I'd known him since I was 14.
13, 14.
13, yeah, 14, yeah. We were in the same friendship group. And then I stayed in the same school for sixth form and Dami went off to college. So that's where we kind of lost contact. And then it was 2014, we met at church. So I just saw him. I remember so well. I was actually on stage praying, and then I looked and I was like, oh, that's Dami from school. So then I was like, oh, I didn't realize he went to this church. And then after church one day, we bumped into each other, and we just kind of were like, oh, it's been a long time. We should catch up. And that's how we got back in contact. And yeah, our friendship started from there.
It's kind of blossomed, as they say.
Yeah.
So Dami, did you like her from secondary school?
Oh, no.
Well, we were both looking at other people at that time, you know. No, the short answer is we just kind of saw each other as friends.
Yeah, definitely.
So what kind of impression did you have of her? You know, like we all have impressions of people like that in our class and stuff.
Yeah.
She was just like cool. I mean, we spoke now and again, but we weren't like
we were in the same
buddies.
Yeah, we were the same friendship group.
We weren't like you know, Sandra's Sandra, and you know, we just don't really like. We never, you know, if we were told us we'd be getting married, then like we were like that's impossible. Kind of thing.
Would have never guessed that.
So yeah, at school, you know, we're just friends. Yeah.
Okay, so when you saw her at church, when you guys reconnected, when you saw her, what came to your mind? Did you think like, oh wow, she's so attractive now?
It actually evolved. So, you know, when we reconnected in 2014, we still saw each other as friends, just kind of reconnecting. So it was like over time when we started spending a bit more time together. That, you know, obviously, you know, we got super friendly. Not in that way, but like we were just getting close and getting to know each other a bit more. And I'm like, okay, well, hang on, you know, she's not bad, you know, she's, you know.
It was a slow progression.
It was a slow progression. It was a slow burner. And we got there.
So what made the difference? Like, I know it was, so what did you see that made her stand? Because I'm sure you had other female friends. What made her stand from the crowd?
I like these questions, BB.
Of course. You know, I don't want to be answering some of the questions a bit too early, but it kind of feeds into one another. What made us stand out? I think a big part of it was where I was in my relationship. Not relation as in like relationship as in my Christian walk rather. And to be frank, you know, no one was standing. I wasn't really seeing anyone at that particular time or attracted to anyone at that particular time. And my relationship with Sandra back then was purely just friendship alone. Then as we started sort of spending a bit more time and, you know, with God's grace and guidance as well, it was made clearer and clearer that, you know, this would be, you know, the woman you're to marry. So it wasn't just a physical, instantaneous like attraction, like from when we haven't spoken for years. You know, it was progress. Obviously, physical part wasn't there, was there as well. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I believe we're gonna get deeper into the carry on. Yeah, but Sandra, what about you? What made Dami stand out?
That's such an easy question for me to answer because I remember when Dami and I became friends, we used to like spend hours just talking about God. It sounds so like, oh really, but yeah, it's like it started out with I was new to Spotify, that was it. And Dami used to just send me like gospel song recommendations all the time. So then that became a thing where like anytime I heard a new song, I'd send it to him and then we'd get all excited about the new track that we were listening to. And then it just kind of went from seeing each other at church to like, oh, do you want to go for lunch? Oh, do you want to go watch a movie? And then, yeah, slowly I just realized I was spending most of my time with him. And then, yeah, the feeling started to develop.
Okay, so what was that defining moment to say, okay, we're now in a relationship, we're now, should I say dating? Because I know lots of Christians don't like to say dating, but for lack of a better word or expression, dating. What was that moment, Dami?
So as we were like spending a bit more time together, like, you know, we're going to the cinema there, we're going to get some food there. I think it was very clear to me. It was getting a bit clearer to me that I made a conscious decision to say, okay, well, this relationship, if I'm going to step into it, whatever we want to call it, it has to be a serious thing. So it wasn't a case where I wanted to get into the relationship just to see how it goes, to see, we're going to boyfriend, girlfriend. I knew that from our friendship, it would have to be, friends looking to get married kind of thing. It wasn't just dating, it was dating with a purpose. So the defining moment was, getting to know Sandra, and actually praying. Sounds very cliche, praying about it. I had quite a lot of peace. I had peace about, knowing that, if I'm this is the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. And so I remember actually when I did finally plucked up the courage to tell her that I liked her. I told her that she likes this. I told her that I don't want to be your ex. Like if we're gonna start this relationship, it's for the long haul. It's forever, God willing. And so that was the moment. So it was a bit of a transition, and it just kind of like boom, moved into the trajectory of getting married. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. So Sandra, when he then, in fact, Dami, so just to go back a bit to your story, you said that you then asked her, you said to her that you don't want it to be a situation where you guys will break up at some point. This is just me interpreting what you said.
Yeah.
Okay, so literally when you were asking her, you had marriage in mind and you communicated that to her. Is that it?
Yes. Not. I didn't say. Obviously, me saying I don't want to be. Long story. Yes. Yes. I did. Yes. No. The idea would be like, obviously, would get married in the future. This is a relationship that would.
Okay.
It's not just dating.
Yeah. Okay. So Sandra, what about you? When he came to you and said, okay, fine. Before I even get to this question, when you guys were hanging out and stuff, clearly Dami has said that he began to notice that it's like there's more here. What was going on with you?
Honestly, during our friendship, the change for me, I noticed when any guy that approached me or any guy that I guess wanted to date or whatever, I would always compare them to Dami. That honestly was when I was like, yeah, what's going on? Because I'd be speaking to my friends and I'd be talking about, oh, so-and-so reached out and wanted to like go on a date. But when I compare him to Dami, and my friend was like, who is this Dami person you're always talking about? And why is he the comparison? Like, why is he the standard you compare everyone to? And I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I was so subconscious, but he had just shown me like he had such a pure heart. He was so God-fearing, and not just through words. Like I could actually see his life was like dedicated to God. That I had never seen any man our age behaving in this way. I was so confused by it. And yeah, he just like stood out in terms of any guy I'd ever met, really. So for me, that's when I started to catch feelings. But I would never tell a man that ever. I'm so against that kind of behavior. So I just kept it to myself. I told like two of my best friends, and then I had a dream about him. So actually a few months before he said to me, he wanted us to become more than friends, I had a dream where I was with my friends and I started screaming, oh my gosh, he did it. And they were like, what did he do? And then Dami came out of the car and he'd given me this ring on my finger. And like, wow. I looked at the ring and it was like, it was strange because it was like there were diamonds of all different colors flowing out of the ring. And all my friends were like, oh my God. And that was the dream. And so I was just like, okay, that's a great dream, but I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm definitely not going to tell Dami. So I just kept praying about it. I confided in my friends about it. And yeah, they were just kind of supporting me in prayer. But from then I was like, okay, something is going on. But yeah.
Okay, so when he then finally asked you, what did you have in your mind? Were you like, oh, wow, this dream is happening, or like, what were your thoughts? And when did you
Oh,
respond as well? Anyway, I'll ask you the second one later. Yeah. So, what were your thoughts when he asked you?
I was so happy. I was like, yes, amen. I can stop suffering now. Because the lead up to that, it was just so. We got to a point in our friendship where it was almost like we both knew, but no one was saying it, if that makes sense.
Okay, okay.
And so when he finally said it, and I remember he was Dammy's hardly ever shy around me, but that day he was so shy. I was like, "What's happening?" And so yeah, he eventually he had a really long speech actually prepared because do you remember?
I had a speech, yeah.
It was in this. We went to like a little pub in Hampstead,
I remember that part.
and he was just telling me like all these nice things about me, and you know, I was like, my heart was just beating so fast. And then he was like, at the end of his speech, he was like, "I like you." And I was like, I like you too. And so it was like, finally, it's out there. So yeah, I was just, I felt, like he said, I felt so much peace about it. And literally that same day, I drove to my friend Vanessa's house and I was like, oh, guess what he said? But then he'd actually spoken to Vanessa.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd actually asked Vanessa if she thought I liked him. And she was like, yes, go for it. So yeah, I celebrated with Vanessa.
Okay. That's such a sweet story. I mean, it's so interesting that you responded in the moment because you know there's this whole I grew up in Nigeria, so a lot of my relationship understanding is based on what I saw in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you have to waste time, like you have to give it yeah, you have some guys like you ask the girl out and she's giving it 3 months, like I have to pray, I have to seek the face of the Lord for 3 months, I have to do this for 3 months, and then you end up seeing lots of guys frustrated, you know. Some guys end up moving on. You know, you like a guy.
Yeah.
Instead of you to just go ahead and say that yes, like
Like,
you
playing hard to get.
exactly, you know that this is this. You're now like, wait, if I don't. Funny enough, Sandra, there's this whole idea that if Dami, please, can you speak to this? Because
Sure.
someone might need to hear this from the guy's perspective.
Mhm.
There's this whole idea that if I don't play hard to get, then the guy is not going to value me. So, what do you think about that view?
I mean, it could work in certain situations. At the same time, you could shoot yourself in the foot. I mean, it depends on the character of the guy as well. And ideally, if he really likes you, I guess he wouldn't mind to sort of chase you and get over the barriers of playing hard to get. But if it's someone that's not serious, which is probably good for you anyway, then he might just say, "Well, hang on, maybe it's not meant to be." But again, sometimes if he is serious, but he's not really, but you're giving him all the wrong signals, it's like, well, maybe it's just not meant to be. Just leave it, and just for the sake of playing hard to get, you've probably lost, a good partner. But I'm not a big fan of games.
Exactly.
From our relationship and how we kind of like ended up, like you could tell that I don't play. To be honest, in my perspective, if Sandra was to play games, like I'd probably say, "Oh, okay, bro, you know what I mean?" So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like it's just better to be direct. Anyway, personally, my own opinion, I feel like it's better to be direct because you then have situations where two friends are stringing each other along. Like these are people I call umbrella brothers and umbrella sisters. Like they're in your life. They're not saying yes, they're not saying no. But it's almost like you're in a relationship with them, but you're not in a relationship with them because it's not clear. So you're expecting and all that, but then nothing is happening because they're busy playing games. Yeah. So how long did you guys end up dating for, Sandra?
So we dated for just over 2 years before Dami proposed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So what was as two Christians in a relationship for 2 whole years, what was that season like?
Well, so before we actually started dating, I was in a place where I just recently got saved. So I was trying to sort of like walk with Christ as best as I could. And I knew that, my past and what have I've made some mistakes in the past, and I know that I didn't want to sort of repeat those mistakes, especially in a relationship. So, certain things, like obviously as two young people, getting together, having to wait 2 years, like we made certain decisions, and we put certain things in place to sort of make sure that, we don't cross certain boundaries. It was exciting, as in like getting to know one another. And I think one thing that really helped was like we were friends as well, because obviously we've known each other from school days. So it wasn't so hard. It was easy. Obviously, there's a refining process as well where you kind of get to know each other. There's as well. So it was good. It was good. There was some tough parts. There was some easy parts. But by God's grace, He helps us and gives us the strength. And we really committed our relationship to God. And we had such peace that He was the one that brought us together. Without a shadow of a doubt, like He was the one that brought us together. I know it sounds so cliche again, but the way everything kind of worked out, it can only have been God. And yeah, we knew we were going to be getting together for a reason, not just about us, but about what God wants, essentially.
Okay, so Sandra, I'm going to come to you shortly to give us details about the things both of you agreed to do and not to do, the difficulties you faced, how you were able to overcome them, and things like that. But before I do that, I want to read the comments. I want to go over to the comment section. Ale is saying, love, love, love. John and Ella are saying, so lovely. God bless your union. Miss Lafunki is sending her love. She's saying, oh, I guess this is when you guys were sharing. And she's also saying, all things work together for those who love God. Thanks for commenting. If you're watching, please drop a comment, say hello, or say something. We're trying to make it a very interactive show. So, Sandra, tell me the details. How did you guys, first of all, what decisions did you make and how did you maintain it?
Yeah, so I mean, one big decision we made was we were going to have no physical, what word do I use? Interaction whilst we were dating. So there was no, we didn't kiss until our wedding day. There was no sex before marriage. And yeah, I think that decision, we made it as a joint decision. Because I remember when Dami asked me to be his girlfriend, he was like, I think, because you asked me to be a girlfriend around May.
Yeah. And
then he said to me, oh, I think, just to make sure we stay on the right path, let's not kiss until December. Sorry, that always makes me laugh. But when he said that, I was really happy that he said it, actually, because I'd always wanted to have purity in my relationship. And I remember I'd been reading this book, Pinky Promise by Heather Lindsay, and I'd watched like lots of different couples who talked about their purity journey when they were dating. So when he said, let's kiss in December, then I said, how about we just don't kiss at all until we're married? Okay. And he was like, yeah, I think we can do that. And so that was one big decision we made. And a lot of my friends thought that was so weird because they were like, well, you can kiss, you don't have to go all the way. But actually, I think it was the best decision for us because sometimes I think it's just better not to start anything that you can't finish or don't want to finish. I actually found that the fact that we didn't do anything just meant that we could just wait until we were married for everything to happen. So it actually was quite nice. We did have to have some boundaries in place. Like if we were chilling together sometimes, there were rules about even just like how we lay down or like sit, just making sure there wasn't too much contact so that things didn't get, risque or whatever. And there were moments when if we were just chilling, we'll just play gospel music, just like keep Jesus in the room. like practical steps like that. Yeah, we spent a lot of time like outdoors, I guess. Like most of our dates would be outside of the house. Yeah, it was things like that that helped us keep to that rule.
So what was
sorry,
Dan, you're going to
like, certain times we thought to go away, maybe like go on a little break or something.
okay.
Would like get 2 separate rooms.
Yeah.
You know, just I guess help us, you know, just kind of like stay away
and limit the temptation. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to read Lafunki's comment. It says, it's nice when a guy initiates sexual purity in a relationship. It sets the tone on how he will promote righteousness in the marriage. Well done, Dami. This is definitely true because, like, yeah, sometimes you ignore certain things when you're dating or when you're courting because you don't understand the implications that you'll have when you are married. Because like a guy that puts pressure on you when you're dating, it's not just about the sex, it's about everything that happens in the relationship. And then you need to start asking yourself, what sort of spiritual life do we have together after we get married? You know, if now that we're not married, we cannot hold each other up in righteousness, you know. How will we then be able to do? What is it that will change? You know, sometimes people feel like once I get married, I'll change. You know, there's a way. Like there was one time I was speaking to someone. He was like in all these multiple relationships at the same time, and he kept saying, "When I get married, I'll change." And it just always made me wonder, like, does he feel like anointing is just gonna drop on his soul, like during, like when they join them together, like something is just gonna purify, you know. It doesn't work that way. Like whatever you do when you're single, you carry it on to when you get married, you know. So ladies and guys watching, just have this in mind, because like marriage is a continuous process. It's a new journey, but it's sort of like a continuation of what you were doing at a deeper level when you were single. So I also want to know what were the challenges you faced, because there's some people that they want to make this decision, you know, and they are like they keep meeting all of these challenges, or there might be couples or someone who is in a relationship that's watching and they've already gone ahead and kissed and done whatever it is in their relationship. What do you suggest that they can do?
Okay. I mean, in our journey, it wasn't easy. You know, we'd obviously be lying when it says, if we were to say it was easy. It would have some really, really difficult moments. I think, but what kept us going was that initial decision that we made right from the get-go. I think you have to, as a couple, you have to sort of have a mutual understanding of the why you're doing it. Because if you don't have the understanding of the why, then it's just like, oh, let's just get this thing done. Like, it's almost like telling a kid not to take the cookie jar. So I just want to take it because, you know, it's nice. But if you tell me, okay, the reason why I don't want you to take the cookie jar is because it's bad for you, blah, 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 you understand why. And so I think with us, we understood the fact that this was such a sacred thing, like sex. And with the mistakes I've made in the past in sexuality and with sex, I didn't want to repeat that. And really, really taking my walk seriously with God, He helped us and gave us the strength to persevere even in the tough times where it was really difficult. And what advice for people that have crossed that line? I think it's, you know, fortunately we have I hope they're, you know, they're believers, and if they're not, we have a God that I can only speak from a Christian worldview. I'm sorry, I can't speak from any, because we have a God that is faithful and forgives, and you know, like we're all gonna fall, and we shouldn't let that sort of like know that we can start again. You know, if we actually really, really hand it over to Him, you know, it would help us to see us through as well. Because what you don't want to do is, you know, whilst you're courting, you know, you've done stuff, right? But I think what something I've heard actually is, I think the sermon is, if you're to cross a certain line as a couple, like sexually and stuff, before you get married, and there's some sort of feelings of guilt or some sort of like contempt against what you've done, right? What happens is, when you get married and when you are allowed to do these things, there's going to be feelings of contempt for one another, because you almost kind of feel the person responsible for you falling. So when you're allowed to do those things, right, you wouldn't really want to, or there's a sort of hidden sort of like, hold on forgiveness you have towards that person. So it's good to have this conversation about this thing. If you have crossed the line, then like this, God restores, but you can have that conversation as to why you don't want to do it. And by God's grace, we give you the strength and the self-control to see you through. And for guys, what I would say is know yourself, know your limits, know your weaknesses, be brutally honest with yourself. If you know that there's a certain dress that gets you going, or there's a
you have to be honest.
or there's a certain part of the body, maybe it's the knee, wearing trousers. Right. It's not a joke, because you have to be brutally honest about what your weaknesses are, and make sure by God's grace, curb your appetite and self-control. By God's grace. It's not by flesh, it's by His grace.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you, Dami. Sorry?
Sorry, that was me. Sorry.
Okay. Sandra, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think one challenge I had, actually, so when we were dating, we weren't doing anything. There were times when I'd ask Dami, do you actually find me attractive? And it sounds weird, but I was like, how are you controlling yourself?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, yes, of course it's by the Holy Spirit, but I think that's just a very real thing. When you're a woman and, like, we'll get all dressed up and we'll go out and, there's no goodnight kiss or anything. Sometimes you're like, okay, so he wasn't even a little bit tempted, like, what happened? And sometimes those things would be in the back of my mind. And I think the good thing was I could always just say that to Dami, and he would be like, please, it's not that you don't look nice, you look great. I'm just really trying to stick to what I've promised you. And that always did make me feel better to know that, we're on the journey together. He's still a human being, I'm still a human being. And it's not that we don't have those kind of natural urges, but it's a matter of discipline. And that's what the focus was. So yeah, I think it's something that every couple has to work out for themselves. Some couples are able to kiss and do, other things and be really intimate physically and never ever cross the line into having sex, and that works for them. So yeah, I think everyone has to understand what they can and can't handle.
Well, Dami, your actions are really respectable, because like just making that decision and saying to her, I made a promise to you, that's very valuable, So well done, Dami. I really admire that. Also, I was just going to say that if you're watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, like this decision these people are making is not something I've made, maybe I've kissed, maybe I've gone all the way, whatever it is, there's grace for you. Like, think of yourself and be gracious to yourself, and also be gracious to your partner, to whoever the person is that you're in the relationship with. It's not too late to make a decision to begin to embrace that purity and start a new lifestyle and a new journey. It's not too late for that, but don't allow guilt or shame stay with you or stay on your heart, to stay around you. It's not of the Lord. If you know that you've made a mistake, you've committed sin, ask for forgiveness. Whenever you feel guilty, keep asking God for forgiveness till you begin to feel that cleansing that God has done for you when you ask for forgiveness. But don't stay in guilt and shame. It's the tool of the enemy. When you hear testimonies, it's not to condemn you, it's to lift you up to a different standard. So if you're hearing their story and you're feeling like, oh, I made a different decision, a decision that I don't like, I'm just telling you now that don't even bother with guilt and shame. Just allow their story lift you up to a new level, and forgive yourself, forgive whoever you're dealing with. If you're married, you're listening to this and maybe it's bringing regrets, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. Again, extend forgiveness and grace to yourself, and extend forgiveness and grace to your husband. If you feel like you need to keep asking God for mercy, ask him for mercy, but don't let guilt and shame settle, and don't dwell on it. Just move on in the righteousness that God has given you. So I want to know, guys, people always come up with this story saying that if you haven't test driven the car, how do you know you're getting the right car? So obviously you guys didn't test drive, and now you guys are driving. So how how did not test? You guys are like a classic example. How did not test driving affect the experience of the car, if I'm to use that analogy?
Yeah. Oh, you don't get the analogy.
Oh, okay, if you don't get it, other people might not get it. So let me explain it a bit more.
Yeah.
So you know how people say that if you don't have sex with someone before you make a lifetime commitment with them to marry them, how do you know that you're going to enjoy your sex life with them after you get married? So now for both of you, you guys made that commitment to yourself. Nothing happened, and then now, of course, obviously you're kissing and you're going all the way, you're doing everything freely. So how did not having sex affect your sex life now? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Honestly, for me, I think it made it so much more special when we were able to do what we wanted to do. Like, I remember the day of the wedding, the night of the wedding, I saw a completely different Dami than I had seen. I was like, who is this man?
It's a spoken.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, freedom, let's go. And I think for me, it was, I felt like it wasn't just us. I really felt like God was with us throughout the whole relationship. And that really, I felt so safe, if that makes sense. And I just felt like this immense trust for Dami, where I was just like, yeah, this is how it should be. Honestly, because I didn't ever think that would be me. So the fact that I was married to a man that I never slept with, and I was just like, wow, our first kiss was on our wedding day. Honestly, like, I think sometimes people make things sound a certain way. Like, having sex before marriage isn't actually a test drive, if that makes sense. I think more than anything, when you're in marriage, sex in itself changes so much when you're married. It's not just one thing for the rest of your life. It changes as you change, as your body changes, as you get older, all this other stuff. That it's a journey in itself. And I think it's just honorable to start that journey when you know that this is the person you'll spend the rest of your life with. So yeah, for me, I don't know about that analogy. I think if you're test driving anything, you should be test driving a person's character, their faith, and the fact that you can be with this person and build a life with them, and you can have peace about that. I think that's the most important thing.
Well, that's so significant. Test drive their character and their faith, not their body.
Absolutely.
Dami, what about you?
It's quite similar to what Sandra said. I think, the idea of test driving sounds a bit materialistic, a bit like you just kind of, let's see how it goes. There's no commitment, and that's where it comes from, really. So if you have to test drive something to see that if it works for you, it's that sort of consumerism mentality where it doesn't work, let's drop it. But as believers, that's what, like, God calls us to the opposite. Polar opposite, actually. Because the world we live in, we change relationships like we change clothes. So as a person, as a couple, if you're gonna get into a relationship, whatever it is, if you're boyfriend and girlfriends, there should be a certain level of commitment into saying, like, this is where we want it to go, depending on what your faith is. prior to that, to the, us meeting and friendship, why be not, I made a decision, I didn't have a girlfriend then. I made a decision like, I'm not gonna make the mistake to be celibate. Right? I'm gonna be celibate, and by God's grace, we maintained that through. So I think also it's an individual thing as well as a couple thing. Because you can get into certain instances where you're tempted, but if you've made that active decision in yourself that you don't want to do this, hopefully you get a partner that agrees and sort of shares those values as well. I don't like test driving. I feel like you should commit. You should commit in love. Love is about commitment, not about consumerism. As you would find out as you get to know one another, loving each other, and I guess what the Bible explains about how we ought to love each other, and that mentality of test drive would not bode you well as in a marriage.
You guys have raised some really, really important, like some valuable lessons from your story, especially like what you just said, Dami, about the consumerism and the consumerist mentality, where it's almost like I'll test it to see if it's good enough for me, and at some point, if it's not good enough for me, I can let it go. Marriage is a lifetime commitment. Your story, just what you guys said now, just reminded me of when we had John and Ella last week, and what Ella said was that she had friends that saw marriage as what Dami has described now, pretty much like this consumerist mentality where it's something that you can have today, someone can be in your life today and they're gone tomorrow, and she had to let go of those friends, because she knew where she was going to, she knew what she wanted her life to be, so she needed to make that change. So I mean, I'm really inspired. I'm learning a lot. Definitely respecting both of you. Thanks a lot for sharing your story. Also, I just wanted to emphasize a bit for guys. I really appreciate that Dami is sharing his story, because guys are very visual. And when I was much younger, I remember once a guy was saying that he didn't believe that a guy could be celibate. This is a single young guy, probably a teenager or something. Like, he just didn't believe when people said it, because it didn't make sense. Because him being a guy, like, he knows what's going on in his body. He just doesn't think that that's something he can do. So he doesn't believe that other guys can do it. But so it's just so nice to see Dami being a guy and being able to should I say, express that level of self-control. And I know when Dami was talking about, are you not attracted to me? Dami, you said the Holy Spirit, it's really the Holy Spirit that can help a guy to maintain that type of decision, because surely, like you said, there must have been temptations, there are all these things along the way. But what you said, what Sandra said that you mentioned to her is so sweet. Like, I've made this commitment to you. So I'm not gonna break it. That is so beautiful. Your story is so beautiful, guys. Tell us about the engagement. So how did you how did that happen?
I like pop the question.
Yeah.
So it was a surprise trip, actually. So I told her to take a couple of days off, like certain days off work. I didn't tell her what was going to be happening, what we were going to be doing. I just started to take it off, and I think on the night before, I came to your house and said, it was funny actually, I think I was to try to sort of give her the clue of what we might be doing or where we're going. I posted like a footballer, Ronaldo, plays for Portugal, and Portuguese tarts as well. I'm like, what do you think we're going? What do you think? She didn't have a clue.
I thought we were going to a football match.
Game. So I told her we're going to go to Portugal, like a surprise trip away. So we went to Lisbon. So this was all my plan. Prior to that, obviously I've spoken to the family, that is my intentions. To pop the questions. I'd already bought the ring. Scouring through Hatton Gardens for like a couple of weeks, going on my lunch break every day trying to get the right ring. So I had that with me. I had the ring with me. Funny story about the ring, actually. So obviously, to go through customs, you can't have any metal stuff with you, right? And obviously, the ring is obviously made out of metal. So what I had to do, this ring, I had to tape it to my keys, to my house keys. This expensive ring, I had to tape it to my house keys with some not dirty duct tape, but just an ordinary duct tape, and pass it through. I just
He was
praying,
so
praying that they won't pull out like, what this ring, that they won't detect that it's a ring. They will just kind of think, oh, that's part of the keys, blah blah blah. So when we got through the detector, kind of like
he made me so nervous because I was like, what did he bring? He was sweating, and I was like, who am I traveling with? Like, what's he got in his bag? And they were like, they scan you and everything, and I was just thinking, what has happened? Yeah, I didn't know what was going on at the time.
So we obviously arrived at Lisbon. So unfortunately, Sandra had food poisoning.
Yes.
On the day at the airport, she ate, some curry or something.
Yeah.
Which really affected her. She wasn't feeling very well throughout the entire stay. And so here was me, okay, I'm going to propose, we're going to pick the right moment, we're going to walk around the city, we're going to find some really nice romantic spot. And, Sandra was at home, so we couldn't really go out a lot. And that weekend was so hot. It was like 40 degrees in Lisbon.
Wow.
It was unbearable. Even me, that was feeling fine, I didn't want to go out. Anyway, so I remember I had my shorts with me that day. I had the ring with me in my shorts, not even with the box, just literally the ring in my shorts. Obviously, if I had the box, it would bulge, you see what it was. So I think we went out one day at lunchtime just to kind of like see if I think Sandra's feeling slightly better, but not entirely. Just kind of like get some food and stuff. And I think this was like the last day there.
It was the second to last day.
The second to last day. And I thought to myself, gosh, like, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. Like, I don't know how quick she's going to feel better.
Yeah.
So I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to take the plunge and just pop the question. So we got back to the hotel after we've been out. And I was on one side of the bed and Sandra was on the other side of the bed. And I think I came round to you.
You said to me, Sandra, I have to ask you something.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, okay.
So I came round to her and I asked her, I have to ask her something. And so I think she turned around and I got on one knee. And lo and behold, she was very well.
I was
instantly. So in the evening, went out, told friends, we went to the bar downstairs to kind of celebrate. And that was that.
Sandra, did you suspect at any point? Did you have any inkling?
No, I had no idea all this was going on. I remember I was feeling so bad because I had food poisoning and I wasn't feeling great. And I thought, oh, I've ruined this trip that he planned for us because I'm not feeling well. So that night in the hotel, I just remember I was just like, I'm going to rest up and then tomorrow we're going to have a good last day. And then, he said he had a question to ask. I thought he was going to say something about, do I need to go to the hospital? I was just like not expecting it. So then, because he asked me to close my eyes, and then I opened my eyes and he was on one knee, and I just burst. I just remember crying so much. Like he was saying his like proposal speech, and I couldn't even hear it. I was so much. I still to this day, I don't know everything that he said. I just remember saying yes, and then.
That's so sweet. So I'm going to read some comments shortly, but before I read the comments, I just want to go back to talking about sex.
Yeah.
Because Sandra, you said something. You said that sex evolves in marriage, and one of the things we learned in our premarital course is that people feel like the way to have great sex is not what popular culture tells you to have great sex. Like sex is not just an activity. It's about knowing the person. It's the bond that you build that makes it enjoyable. It's not necessarily I'm talented. It's not a kind of situation where you like someone that's into racing, like they are really good at racing. This one is a racer, so yes, so yes, they're gonna like do everything. But what I learned, and which is what I'm experiencing in my marriage as well, that is about learning about your body. There's a deep level of intimacy that supports it and makes it beautiful. It's not just physical activity. And I feel like that's the lie that the enemy has sort of spread all over the place, that's making people move from place to place and just, I don't know, have like destructive sexual experiences, which really shouldn't be. I mean, if you're watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, I've fallen so many times, I don't know where to start from with this sexual purity thing, I just speak the grace of God over your life, and I pray that God will help you and uphold you to make a different decision today about your love life and about your future. So I'm going to go over and read some comments. So Lafunki is saying it's nice when a guy initiates sexual purity in a relationship. It sets the tone on how he will promote righteousness in the marriage. She's also saying well done, Dami, and well done, Sandra. Samuel Babalola is saying such a beautiful couple, well done. And Lafunki is saying, yes, preach it, Sandra. Test drive their character. Exactly. Samuel is saying, test drive their character and their faith. Fire. Lafunki is saying, yes, can two work together except they be in agreement? And Ale is saying, beautiful love story. Lafunki is also saying, temptation itself is not a sin. It is when we put into action what we are tempted about, then it becomes a sin. You know, sometimes the enemy lies to you just because you're tempted. You feel like you've committed the sin. And because you feel like you've committed the sin, you now go ahead and actually commit it because you're like, I've done it anyway. Yeah, but no, temptation is not a sin. You can definitely overcome it. She's also saying we need to have friends with similar belief system and values. Yes, definitely. We still have similar issues in this day and age, as some young guys do not think it is possible to stay away from sex. We need guys to be speaking to young guys and be sharing their stories. Definitely, we do need that. Thank you guys for sharing your story. Honestly, guys, your story is so inspiring and it's a beautiful love story. I thank God for the grace that He gave both of you to maintain your decision and just the determination, because I understand that grace was there, but from just listening to both of you, clearly you were both so determined that even in times when you felt like I want to do something else, because of the determination, because you had made up your mind, you said even if I want to do something else, I choose to do this which is right. And to maintain that for 2 whole years, that's a long time. So congratulations, guys. I'm so happy for you guys that you were able to achieve your goal, and I'm sure God is going to be doing amazing things through both of you. So any final words, advice to single? Dami, can you drop a word for single guys, and Sandra, drop a word for single ladies?
Advice. I think for a single guy, I think you need to, I guess, understand why you want to be in a relationship in the first place. Because it's very easy to, I guess, go into a relationship because of what you want. You know, maybe it's because of the sex or the companionship or the children or the beautiful marriage. You know, those aren't bad things, but they're never really going to satisfy you. I think essentially marriage is not the end; it's a means. You know, what is going to satisfy you is Christ. You know, and He's the one that's going to sustain you through that marriage. You know, but I think get your relationship right with Him, as you know, walk with Him, and He will give you the grace to walk with Him and to be faithful with Him. That's the only advice I can give anyone. I can't say, you know, do this, do that. Christ is the one that will help you to do this, do that. So get with Him, ask Him, you know, and yeah.
Wow, it. Marriage is not an end; it's a means. Thank you, Dami. Sandra. Sandra, what about you?
So I think I guess for the ladies, 2 pieces of advice I'd give. The first one I'd say is, was this quote: "If you're not happy by yourself, you won't be happy with someone else." I think the first thing is to just learn how to be happy just doing you, really. You don't need another person to complete your life. Live your life with Christ, be happy that way. And when God brings that person to your life, that's when the two of you will come together and be one. That on your own with Christ you are whole. The second thing I'll say is not to compare yourself to other people, or look at someone else's life and be like, that's what I want. The reason I say that is because these days it's really easy to look at the perfect picture and the hashtag goals and all of that stuff. But the reality behind all those images could be very different. Even Dami and I sitting here, I hope no one thinks we're goals, because we don't always look like this. It's not always happy-go-lucky. It's real life. And so, yeah, I'll just say, don't compare yourself to anyone. Walk your own path, walk your own journey, because that has its own beauty. And whatever God has purpose for your life, that's what will come to pass.
Thank you, Sandra. So, ladies, be happy and be content being single, and don't compare yourself. You are the best version of you out there. No one else can do you better than you. So please be you. Thanks so much, Dami and Sandra. Before we go, I'm just gonna read some of the last comments. Lafunki is saying, when you maintain your decision, it's easier to share one's testimony, which is so true. She's saying, preach it. It is Christ that satisfies, and be happy doing you, Christ. Thank you so much, Dami and Sandra. Thanks to all our viewers. Thanks to all those that commented. Once again, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Wise Attraction. As you're watching now, just click the red button to subscribe. It's very easy to do and it's free. And also follow me at Wise Attraction on Facebook and on Instagram. And finally, also remember that we're meant to be having a giveaway today, as I spoke about earlier. So if you missed it, talk about the giveaway, I'll just show you guys what we're giving away.
We have
a date night box, yeah, to have your own spa session at home. There's a face mask in there, there are bath salts, there are soaps, there are bath bombs, there are candles in there as well. So all of this is for you. And if you want to win this giveaway, just like this video, comment, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel for a chance to win, and we're going to be posting it out. Please note that this giveaway, I'm afraid it'll have to be for my friends here in the United Kingdom. For those around the world, other parts of the world, we're going to do a separate giveaway for you. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you once again, Dami and Sandra. See you again same time next week. Do have a lovely week. Bye.
Bye.